and then share my screen again. And I'll get better at this. So let's go back onto those ground rules. So this is the first ground rule, that we are nature and that we are part of we are made up of those 5 elements. And those 5 elements are space, air, I can't move my PowerPoint now, there we go. Space or ether, air, fire, water, and earth. And Ayurvedic philosophy says that everything found in the whole universe, all the way down to our tiny cells, are made up of these 5 things. So a few examples are outer space or holes, are things in space. So that's our air or ether. The wind is air. Fires are fire, rains, oceans, and lakes are water, and the mountains of the ground are the earth quality. So now I want you to think about your body. You have space in your body. You have sort of body cavities, and that's the space part. You have parts that move other parts. That's the air quality. You have those fiery parts, which are the warm parts of you, the liquid parts, which are water, and the hard parts, which are earth. And it's a little hard, isn't it, to imagine that everything is made of just 5 elements. But if you think about an analogy like all paint colors can be created from red, blue, and yellow, and if you started mixing the elements on a palette, you would get an endless variety of everything you see. So a tree, for example, is a mixture of elements. A tree has the earth element in sort of the dense trunk, but there's also some space in between the bark on its bumpy texture. The leaves have water in them to keep them soft as the veins move air and water through the leaf. Trees absorb sunlight, so they have a little fire in them as well. So pretty nifty, huh? So a tree then has space, air, fire, water, and earth. And spending time in nature is a prescription to heal in Ayurveda. While we are unique, one thing stays true for all of us. We do feel best when we spend time in nature because we are part of nature. So I want you to think and just sort of, hopefully you've got pen and paper with you, and sort of jot down, what are some things that are close to nature? Or just think in your mind, okay, what are some things that I've perhaps seen today that's close in nature? Maybe you went for a walk and saw some leaves or some trees. And then my question to you is, do you spend at least 30 minutes a day in nature? Because this is truly what grounds that central nervous system. And if not, how can you fit more time into nature? So I want you to think about that. Our next ground rule is it depends. Because Ayurveda's focus is on the individual, we use this phrase all the time, it depends. And the solution to your health concern really depends upon your unique balance of the elements. Your age, the problem, how long you've had the problem, what season it is, your diet, your exercise regimen, your emotional stability, your stress levels, and so on. So when you see an Ayurveda practitioner, they will always take the time to try and understand their patient. And that's why when posed with a health question, we always say it depends. So Ayurveda does not treat disease, it treats the person. And as we're talking about that, there is something I want to bring up. So authentic Ayurveda should not sell you anything. There are some great Ayurvedic products out there, but just like anything else, be wary of any claims that this one thing will change your entire life, because nothing is true for all people in all cases. And as Ayurveda has become more popular, because people love it, just be mindful of sort of that persuasive marketing that's out there so that you don't do more harm than good. And then our next ground rule is one size does not fit all. I don't know, somebody was telling me that there was a company in the 80s in this country, and they were called All Cotton, and they sold only cotton clothes, and the entire store was one size fits all. And my client was telling me they didn't. One size did definitely not fit all. None of those clothes fit her. And she said, you know, she looked like a fluffy, pleated pastel sausage in everything. And it made her feel bad because that she was not part of all like everyone else. She felt like an outsider. So hear me out. While one person might feel great sort of scarfing down their food really quickly, another person might get bloated when they scarf down food really quickly, and yet another will burp for an hour if they eat food too quickly. So it doesn't have so much to do with what you eat as it has to do with the person eating it. So let's say we all decided to have a burrito for dinner tonight. So if I was to eat a burrito, I would definitely get gas and bloating from it. Maybe you would get some acid reflux from it. Maybe another person won't feel anything from it. So it's got everything to do with the person eating the burrito. It's not the burrito in itself that creates the problem. That first person that manages to eat it with no problems might have a really strong digestive fire and be able to metabolize that burrito just fine. The second person might have a weaker digestive fire, and the beans will make them feel puffy and sort of bloated. And that third person might have additional heat in their body, and the spicy salsa is rising like heat does, and it will try and come out. Heat has to come out, and it comes out as a burp. Because each one of those people are totally unique, a burrito may or may not be a good choice. That's just one example, but there are lots and lots of examples. The same goes with exercise, as people have different thresholds, they have different abilities, different flexibilities, strengths. Not everybody is going to benefit from or love long distance running. Not everybody is going to benefit from strength training. Even yoga, which is generally good for all people as a physical exercise and practice, has different styles to benefit different people. So hot-bodied people should never, ever do hot yoga. They'll get angry and pass out, trust me. So overall, sort of these blanket statements that we see that are given to us about diet, exercise, and how to stay balanced should wave a red flag for you. One size does not fit all. If someone claims that this will work for everyone, be dubious. So just be careful there. And then our next ground rule is like increases like. So you need to remember this. This is really important, especially in Ayurveda treatment. So to keep life steady on a balance beam, we use the opposite qualities to balance us. So if you are hot, eat cooling foods or jump in the pool. If you are cold, sit in a steam room or a warm bath. If you have a racing mind, use meditation or breathing to slow it down. And if you are heavy, move your body and eat lighter foods. So by bringing in the opposite qualities, we're able to balance ourselves out in many ways. And this is one of my favorites because this is not what we do in this country, but do not resist your urges. Hooray for urges. So our awesome bodies gave us the gift of urges as a signal for what it needs. So when we feel an urge, we need to honor it. Urges are different than impulses, mind you. So an impulse tends to be ego-driven and requires a quick and conscious choice, like an impulse to buy some chocolate-covered caramels in the checkout aisle, or those polka dot sneakers that are on sale. Urges are a signal from the body that something needs to be balanced, either expelled, like a sneeze, like gas, or a laugh, or increased, like sleep or thirst. So if we hold our urges back or in, we reverse the flow, which can cause stagnation, it can cause wrong flow, or what it does is it clogs our physical and emotional bodies. So it really can make us sick over time by holding in our urges. For example, a sneeze needs to come out. Don't stifle that sneeze in your throat because you're trying to be polite in a meeting. Let it out. The body wants something out of your nose and fast, so you need to obey your body. The same thing applies to bathroom breaks. Despite our busy work schedules, we should go to the bathroom when we need to, when you have to. In addition to reversing the flow or clogging channels, holding out that urge to go to the bathroom actually keeps waste in when it should be coming out. So don't hold it, just go. This is part of how the body functions properly, by releasing what it no longer needs. So emotions too are another thing we tend to hold in. Don't stifle your emotions or they will come out in one big mess. So allow sort of healthy expression of your opinions, feelings, ideas, and emotions. This is a tough one in this country. I mean, I've worked with many teachers, for example, and they literally will hold their urine in all day because they just can never seem to get to the bathroom, and end up with UTIs, end up with cysts, all kinds of problems just by holding it in. And our next ground rule is slowly we make the changes. Ayurveda recommends adopting sort of 2 to 3 changes for a couple of weeks, and then once you have established those changes as routine and incorporated them, then you can add a couple more and then a couple more. So it's important to know that new habits need to be practiced, and we know that. We know that we sort of need to go over and over something new. And if you only make 2 or 3 changes in your diet and lifestyle over the course of 6 months, that's awesome. It's more than what you were doing before. And I often talk to people who say, well, I've got to get it perfect. I've got to do everything. No, we go at the pace that's just right for you. So we do believe in Ayurveda that there's no drastic changes, just simple, intentional, gradual progress. So think of a really dry plant. If we were to dump a bunch of water on it, what happens? The water runs out, it runs down and around, it sort of bypasses the dirt and the roots. But if we pour that water slowly, take a break, pour a little more, then the water has a chance to absorb it into the soil and nurture the plant. And I think the reason why so many people don't follow through on changes in their health, because they try too many things at once. Too much at once just can't sink in. So don't be in so much of a rush. You are changing your life. It took you many years of choices and routines to get where you are. You can't change all of them in a week, okay? When 6 months go by, you'll turn around and say, holy moly, I changed all that. Yeah, you did. You'll be in a healthier life with new habits because you went slowly and step by step. And you are what you digest. And you have heard the term, you are what you eat. I see that everywhere all the time. But in Ayurveda, we're a little bit more nuanced, and we say it's not only what you eat. Yes, it is important that you eat well, but you are truly what you digest. So you could have the best nutritional program in the world that's right for your metabolic type, perfect for the season that you're in. But if you can't access that food for any reason, then it doesn't matter what you're eating. So eating food is very, very different from digesting it. We can eat anything we can physically stick in our mouths, but that doesn't mean we will digest it well. Our digestive power varies from person to person. Therefore, foods that will benefit one person might not benefit another. So one person can eat a salad and feel awesome, light and energized with that salad, while another person gets instantly bloated and sort of gets a grumbly tummy. we have different levels of digestive power. And if we don't digest our food well, then that old foodstuffs, that undigested food, will turn into toxins called ama. And I've spoken to many of you about ama, and we'll do a whole other talk about ama. So ama, that undigested food, is the root cause of most disease, because ama turns into a slow metabolism, which means more undigested food, which then means more ama, which then creates inflammation, and inflammation then creates disease. So it is super important to eat foods that we can digest well. And our next ground rule is that the mind, body, and spirit are not separate in Ayurveda. All of us, our bones, our skin, our thoughts, our relationships, our breath, our homes, our food, our happiness, and even our crankiness and our uniqueness are all parts of who we are, aren't they? So all of those things can be balanced through Ayurveda. Our body, mind, and spirit are all connected. So our life connects to our body and our body to our life. They fuel each other. They do go hand in hand. Now, the mind is the driver. The body just doesn't go around doing things all by itself. If you have a glass of water in front of you, the mind tells your arm and hand to reach for it, pick it up, and then lift it to your mouth. The mind makes choices and the body follows suit based on those choices. And our body is our physical self. You know, the body is made of those 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, and earth, and experiences life through those 5 senses. It's the physical formation of everything that we take in, everything that we eat, how we exercise, what and how we think, and our elements. And if our body does not get what it needs, our mind too will be negatively affected. And then spirit, the mind and body are pretty easy to understand, but what is spirit? Spirit is essentially the soul. The soul or spirit is the most subtle yet most important part of who we are. The soul is your higher self, and we often need quiet, don't we, to be able to listen to that sense of spirit or our soul. And when our spirit is off our path, our mind will not make the right choices, and therefore our body might also suffer. If our mind does make the right choices and the body does the action it's instructed to do, then our spirit can soar. And then we heal through the 5 senses is another ground rule. So the 5 senses are our receptors to the outside world. In fact, our body is so good at using all these senses that when one sense is lost, the others increase as the body's way to keep the information coming in. So because the senses are the receptors of so much information, they can get overtaxed and overloaded. And we've all felt that, haven't we? Where it's just like, oh, I've got to turn everything off. I just need some peace and quiet. So when the senses get overused or even underused or misused, then the body's receptors get crossed with conflicting waves of information. I'm sure you've heard of sensory overload, and that's exactly what it means. So we're given too much information to process or digest, causing an overload of the senses, which can also create toxins too. So what we experience with our senses is delivered to the body, and these experiences will either balance or imbalance us. The senses play the main role in how we receive and digest information. Since Ayurveda uses our senses then as vehicles to deliver various therapies and healing to the body and mind. So some examples are using essential oils, aromatherapy, that's using our senses there. sight therapy, the 6 tastes that we try and get in each meal, touch or massage. All of you are using oil massage each day. And we often listen to music too, or listen to mantras or special sayings or special words for us. So depending on what the imbalances are, we will choose the therapy that most directly sort of affects that sense. And then food is my medicine. So who has ever heard someone say, oh man, I better take heartburn medicine before I eat these spicy chicken wings because they always give me heartburn? I hear this all the time. I hear it at barbecues I go out to where somebody takes their medicine before they go out. So let me shine a light on something. If you don't eat the wings, you won't need the medicine. Your body is telling you those wings are not good for you. So food is our main source of nourishment for our body, and is literally, because our bodies rather are literally made of the food that we give it. It's that simple. If we feed our bodies good things, they'll feel good. If we feed them junk, they'll feel and look like junk. So then the body may start to break down in places. It can become inflamed, dry in others, hold on to extra fat. And as these things happen, we will likely look to some kind of medicine to help us feel better. So the key here is food is the medicine. Instead of taking medicine, let's change the foods we're eating. Let's make a different choice and pick out foods that benefit who we are, our individual uniqueness. So now that your brain is full of good information on the ground rules, let's turn this back over. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here so that we can open it up. I'm going to unmute everybody so that we can open it up for any questions that you may have on the ground rules of Ayurveda. Well, let me ask you a question here. Anything new that you heard tonight?
This is Tracy Calhoun. No, I don't think it's new, but it's always good to hear the refresher, to keep it just kind of top of mind in terms of, you know, just everyday living and being very cognizant of what it is that we're eating or planning to eat.
Sure. So how many of you realize that we take nutrition in through all our 5 senses? We tend to think of nutrition as what we eat. How many of you sort of realize that what we see, what we hear, what we touch and smell, this also nourishes us too? So those things are very important. Have you ever thought of sort of nourishment in that way too?
Carrie, this is Kim. Can you hear me?
I can, Kim. Hi.
Hi. One of the things that I find interesting and have learned very much myself is just what you're talking about, the 5 senses, in particular, things that I was reading at bedtime or television that I was watching before bedtime. I'm a huge Law and Order, murder mystery, you know, kind of person, but I was realizing that was really affecting my sleep patterns, and which then in turn affected my following evening or day, I should say. So that was a new concept to me, and I've noticed a lot of things, even when I'm eating, making sure that if I can, I'm facing a window or something to allow me to take in nature, as you say, I said at the beginning. So that was new to me, and I've enjoyed learning how that's affecting me on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. Thank you for sharing that, Kim. And Kim brings up a good point. How many read at night before bed? I do. I love to read at night before bed. That helps relax me. So I would imagine probably most of you do. But what are you reading before bed? Are you reading sort of the more invigorating stories that have you thinking and have your mind racing? I have a client who has very strange dreams at night, and to the point that they wake him up often. And we sort of narrowed it down to, oh my gosh, he's reading these horror stories before he goes to bed. He loves them. He finds them relaxing, but you can imagine how that's going to upset his sleep cycle as the brain starts processing all that. So just watch what you're reading at night before. Any other questions you have for me? Then it looks like we are done for tonight. So thanks very much for jumping on the call. We will do this once a month. The next time we're going to talk about digestive fire. So, and our Agni, our digestive fire. So that'll be next month. And it was great to see you. And I'll be talking to many of you in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. So good night.
Night.
Good night, Carrie.
Good night.